Good evening and live from our studios on MDI Road. This is the news at 2000 hours with me, Winifred Nicole. In the headlines tonight, the government to suspend all forms of social gatherings amid new wave of the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. The Gambia marks 56 years of nationhood on Thursday, the 18th February, and celebrations are to be done in low key. The government of the Gambia and the International Organization for Migration discussed plans to promote the safety of migrants. In sports, the Gambia under-20 team suffers a first 1-0 defeat in the ongoing AFCON under-20 tournament in Mauritania. And in the internationals, health authorities confirm 4 cases of Ebola in eastern Congo. Well, viewers, those are the headlines. Joining GRTS News. We begin tonight's bulletin with a press release, and it reads: in light of the worrisome trajectory of a new wave of the COVID-19 pandemic in the country, the government hereby suspends the issuance of new police permits for all parties, music festivals, political events, and all forms of social gatherings effective 8th March 2021. Conscious of the difficulties associated with the COVID-19 restrictions and the time required to prepare for any unforeseen circumstances, the government will in due course outline a more detailed statement governing upcoming restrictions and their regulations. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health urges the public to adhere to the basic COVID-19 protocols of proper wearing of face masks, social distancing, regular hand washing, and limited gatherings. The release ends. The Gambia marks 56 years of nationhood tomorrow, Thursday, the 18th February. More on this year's independence. We're joined live on the line by the Director of Press and Public Relations at the State House, Ami Bojang Sissoho. Good evening, Madam Bojang Sissoho.
Good evening.
Welcome to GRTS News.
Thank you for having me.
We understand this year's independence celebration have been scaled down. Why?
It is, I think if you remember, been following, you realize that since 2018, 19, and this year, last year, up to this year, it has always been low-key. But this year, it has been further scaled down because of the COVID, when the team that sat down to discuss the planning of the independence, they looked at different options as to how to celebrate, but at the same time minimize the gathering. And that's the reason why it happened.
Now, if that is so, then the government is committed to prioritizing public health. Now, what role can the public play to complement that?
I think it is a responsibility for everyone, whether it is the government or the people, because at the end of the day, government should be doing something that is in the interest of the people. So I think from my perspective, everybody has a duty, and we all play our role as much as possible to follow the advice that is given to ensure that we protect ourselves.
Now, as we celebrate independence, it is important to renew the call for national unity and patriotism. But what's the government's message on this? Hello, Madam Bojang Sissoho.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm saying this has been a continuous call from the head of state, His Excellency President Adama Barrow, that we should unite the people, we should work together, because the national interest is always supersedes our personal interest. Therefore, call for unity is in the right direction, and we should all endeavor to do so, no matter our differences, because at the end of the day, we are all Gambians, and we have one Gambia, one people, one nation. Nobody can separate that. So what we need to do is to focus on that and to make sure that we all contribute towards it.
Good. Now, the Gambia has achieved political independence, but achieving economic independence is an ongoing process. Is the National Development Plan the solution?
As you said, economic development is an ongoing process. The National Development Plan is to guide that process to ensure that there is economic development, and it cannot be a one go. It is a process, and I guess that is what the plan is all about, to guide us towards the right direction in achieving economic growth.
Good. Now, Madam Bojang Sissoho, President Barrow is the first politician since independence in 1965 to come to power by defeating a sitting government. What does that tell us about the Gambia's democracy and political maturity?
The democracy is growing, and it is getting stronger in the Gambian context, and people are getting more and more aware of their democratic rights. Therefore, they decide on what to do to ensure that they have the right people they want, and this is the very reason why they decided to vote for President Adam Barrow, because we need peace and tranquility in ensuring that we also get our rights at the same time. Because when you talk about democracy, you're talking about the freedom of the people, the liberty, and when you talk about that, we have to have a care of peace and to be able to have that and enjoy it at the same time.
Good. Now, many thanks for your time on the news, Madam Bojang Sissoho.
And thank you for having me.
Now, that was the Director of Press and Public Relations at the State House, Ami Bojang Sissoho. Now, Madam Sissoho was talking to us ahead of this year's independence preparation. Now, as the Gambia braces up for its 56th independence anniversary, a press release from the State House reads, "The public is notified that Thursday, 18 February 2021, is a public holiday throughout the country. The celebration will be at the McCarthy Square in Banjul. The parade will be attended by the security forces, school children, and voluntary organizations. His Excellency President Adama Barrow will be present, and all invited guests are kindly asked to be seated by 9 a.m. The President wishes to take this opportunity to wish all Gambians home and abroad a happy celebration and a blessed day." The release ends. Now, still on the independence, as the Gambia prepares to reflect on its 56 years of achievements and challenges, GRTS examines the impact of the Senegambia Bridge. Louis Mendy has more on that.
The Senegambia Bridge is a kilometer-long, state-of-the-art infrastructure. The Barrow government calls it a wise investment to yield massive return for the socio-economic growth of the country and beyond. Usman Jobate, the Port's managing director, explained the impact of the project.
Well, the bridge is very significant because not only facilitating access between north and south banks and also the north and southern parts of Senegal, it also serves as a vital link in the what we call the Abidjan to Dakar route. And Lagos to Dakar actually is the Trans-African Highway number 7, we call it, which provides access to link countries. There's a 4-highway lane that exists between Abidjan and Lagos. And now the next part of the project is to link Abidjan to Dakar. And the vital point in that is the Trans-Gambia Bridge, which is now up and running, and it has facilitated movement across most of these countries. So the clients are not only Gambia and Senegal, but the whole of the sub-region.
The tariff used in the crossing at the Senegambia Bridge is the same tariff used in the previous ferry services in the same crossing point. MD Jobate has confirmed.
So there's not been any change. What I can say in terms of range is that for small vehicles, saloon cars, they're paying $200, and for pickup trucks, 250, and it goes up to like a 50-ton truck would pay about $4,300. So it's the same tariff that we've been using for the ferry crossing that has been now transposed for the utilization of the bridge services.
On a good day, more than 100 vehicles from either side cross the Senegambia Bridge.
There is an increase in the revenue collection on a monthly basis because the bridge is different from the ferry services in terms of the availability of the facility. The ferries, because of the technical issues that we've been having with them, the deployment ratio was lower than compared to the access that the bridge now facilitates. On a good day, up to 100 vehicles are crossing at the bridge from both ends. But currently, the traffic is low because of the global health challenges, and most of our customers, they are coming from the Senegalese region, and because of the travel restrictions in those countries, and currently there is a curfew which restricts movements of people, it has warranted the traffic to at least slow down a little bit.
The tolling at the bridge is expected to promote financial discipline.
The tolling facility is now being handled between the GPA and NRA, and we have lately been also joined by the Minister of Finance, the Accountant General Office, to provide the oversight in terms of the revenue collection and the banking. But the toll facility is being handled by the GPA and the NRA. NRA in the sense that the bridge falls within their remit, and GPA because of the competence we have in ticketing arrangements, and our software is being used, and some of our personnel are there also. So the arrangements are working, but now there's a third layer, which is the Accountant General's Office, and they're providing the oversight for the revenue collection and the banking of the revenue. But I know for certain that as part of the aid memo with the funding agency, which is the African Development Bank, there is an objective to have a private outfit to manage the tolling facility. But that's for the long term. But really, it's a government decision, and I'm sure at the material time, the right decisions will be taken.
And as the Gambia celebrates 55 years of nationhood on Thursday, the hope is that the government continues to build on its successes for a more prosperous Gambia, socially and economically. Louis Mendy, GRTS.
Meanwhile, the Gambia historian and library curator Hasum Sise has been talking to GRTS about the country's struggle for independence. Mr. Sise gave credit to the founding fathers of the nation and to President Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara. Here is an excerpt.
In a government staff list, in those days, government used to print a staff list every year. You had only 8 university graduates in the whole country, and 2 of them were medical doctors. One was a lawyer. So meaning basically had 5 Gambians who had gone to university and should be running the country. Okay? Like I said, and there was no tourism and no industry, only groundnuts as the basis of our economy. The other point was that because of the very fragile nature of our economy, people thought that really after 6 months, the treasury will be empty. This is why, at the margins of the independence celebrations in '65, the Prime Minister, got support from the UK for what is called Grant in Aid scheme, capital G, capital I, capital A, okay, such that every month the UK was to transfer money, like in cash, to the Gambian treasury, to the Gambia Currency Board, which later became the central bank, to be able to pay salaries and buy fuel. So the country was not ground to a halt. And that lasted from February '65 until March 1967, when our capable leaders were able to have like the first surplus budget for this country. And I think since then we never had a budget like a surplus budget since '67. So really, this pessimism, was quite real, okay? But we have survived it. And the fact that we have been able to survive it until 56 years, that also, I think, is worthy of celebration and also it's another indication to show that really this country, if you say we have not sort of like squandered, the independence inheritance.
Moving on. The government and the International Organization for Migration have been discussing the National Coordination Mechanism Process Report 2020 and the work plan for 2021, designed to promote the safety of migrants. Kejetu Juwa reports on the seminar officiated by Vice President Dr. Aissatou Toure.
International Organization for Migration contributes to increase understanding of highly topical migration issues throughout the world. Speaking at the opening ceremony, the IOM Chief of Mission said her organization has a strong vision, coherent and coordinated approach to governing migration.
Protecting Gambians from falling prey to the lures of traffickers and smugglers, or maximizing the knowledge, skills, and capital of the Gambian diaspora abroad. Migration was no doubt growing to be a prominent phenomenon in the country's consciousness. Where then do we see the NCM fit into all of this? At the NCM's core is the whole of government concept, recognizing that migration is a cross-cutting issue that requires multiple stakeholders to coordinate and complement efforts.
She argued that migrants' rights should be prioritized at all times. WHO country representative and acting UN resident coordinator in the Gambia commended the Gambia government for the milestone achievement in organizing this high-level meeting to review the progress made by the National Coordination Mechanism body on migration by establishing a work plan for 2021.
Our vision to align our work with the Gambia's National Development Plan also takes migration matters into heavy consideration. Migration and cross-border cooperation was one of the 8 pillars of the Common Country Analysis, an exercise which was undertaken to inform the next generation of the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework.
The Vice President, Dr. Aissatou Toure, reiterated the government of the Gambia's commitment in addressing of migration issues and for mainstreaming migration into national development plans to ensure policy coherence.
It poses an extremely large opportunity for growth and development, but also poses challenges we must address, such as forced displacement, abuse, and exploitation, and as we all know, irregular migration. To maximize these opportunities for growth and development, while simultaneously addressing the challenges, requires a concerted effort among multiple stakeholders to coordinate, collaborate, and work closely together. This is why the National Coordination Mechanism on Migration exists. On behalf of the government of the Gambia, I would like to thank all of you for coming today and to the UN system, particularly IOM and the members of the UN Network on Migration, for the support in making this possible.
Vice President Toure called on stakeholders to fully participate during the forum to solid foundations work plan that will effectively tackle topical migration issues. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Khadija Tujuara.
Top officials of the Gambia Immigration Department have concluded a nationwide tour after visiting 40 immigration posts. The fact-finding mission also witnessed 4 town hall meetings with logistics, promotions, and staff welfare at the heart of discussions. But GRTS's Babka Kamara has more on the last leg of the tour within the Greater Banjul area in this report.
The command of the Immigration Department entered the West Coast region with a traditional welcome of handing and taking over by regional officers. The first port of call was at Kalaji, where an ongoing project for the construction of a command post is about to enter its second phase, but not without final challenges.
Due to goodwill gesture from majority of the communities that we visited, they were kind enough, to allocate, vast swathe of land, to GID for us to possibly construct, offices, at border posts. However, due to budgetary constraints, which we are all faced with, more especially, the pandemic, that is hitting the whole world, we are still, talking to our bilateral partners. We are talking to good Gambian philanthropists to possibly assist us, to come up, with measures, to assist us, in funding the construction, of those, offices.
Later visits at Sibanor, Omartu, and Mandinaba border post has ignited another level of interaction between the immigration DG and team. But more to it are the persistent border challenges posed by irregular migrants entering the country.
Gambia, due to our geographical location, is full of porous borders. Now, the porosity of these borders, pose a serious challenge in the management, on the management of our borders. However, the more reason why we need mobility and we are providing it through government support and by partners is to ensure, because immigration work is not static all the time. Sometimes there is what we call, visibility. Even if you are going to a place, on patrols, either on motorbike, on foot patrol, or vehicular patrol, it pays dividend. Because when people know that trying to enter our country by circumventing through the unauthorized routes, it's very easy to apprehend them, and ensure, the right thing is done at the right time.
Later discussions held at Banjulinding, Wellingara, and Bruceby immigration outfits has been a focused one, with plans for expansion, promotion, and training at the fore. Later engagements capping the week-long countrywide tour was at Bakau. Here the discussion centered on arrival of fishing migrants who, for many reasons that are not obvious, evade registration and documentation. Babukar Kamara, GRTS.
Well, more on the immigration tour. We are joined live in the studio by the Director General of Gambia Immigration Department, Mr. Sidi Toure, on what next after his countrywide tour and efforts of the government to ensure more border security and provision of national documents to eligible citizens. Good evening, DG, and welcome to the news.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Now tell us what specifically was the purpose of your tour and what has been your findings?
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. The purpose of the tour basically is to go and reach out to our colleagues, not only immigration officers, but also, members of other sister services, to discuss with them, because they already have, a very cordial working relationship. So we encourage them, to consolidate those existing gains. And then equally, we also try to look at staff welfare to see what are the challenges, they are confronted with, and some messages, that we want to share with them as well from headquarters level.
And so far, what have been the findings on the ground?
Well, the findings, the challenges are immense, but then, they are not unsurmountable. Part of the findings we realize, there is their need, for them to have good office space. And then, as you can see, in my previous interviews, the communities, all over the country are very, very, very kind and generous, to the security by way of, allocating us, with land for us to possibly, tap, into our coffers, to build or maybe to, to engage, some philanthropists, to assist us in that domain.
Good. What are the plans to ensure access to national ID cards, and how secure is that data collected by both SEMLEX and MEDA systems?
Thank you. The mechanism that are put in place now, I can tell you with great deal of certainty that we have footprints in all the regions, the 7 regions of the country, and then all the regions, some even have 3 issuing centers. We are not stopping there. Plans are in the offing, to soon operationalize other catchment areas like Tujereng, Bundung is already operationalized. We visited, the provinces. We realized that, when you cross over Basse to Wuli and Sandu, there is also a need, for them to have an issuing center, as well as, either Sankandi or Quinala, which is going to take care of, the Kiang axis.
Good.
And then they're talking about the next question, that is the security of our data. What needs to be understood here is this data actually belongs to the government and the people of the Gambia. And then every aspect of both SEMLEX and the migrant system, we have immigration officers, that are operating there. So we can assure Gambians, that their security, the data, are well protected.
Now, what is the way forward and your message to your staff and the general public?
The message to the staff is for them to continue the hard work. because we have registered, maximum, success in the previous years, especially the year under review, that is 2020, and then to ensure that, the proper mechanisms are put in place, to manage the available resources, that government is giving us, and more importantly, fiduciary management. This is very important to us.
Good. Yeah. And what is your advice to the general public as well?
To the general public, we encourage them to go all out, to look for their national documents. And in looking so, we are also sending this message across that, these documents, are meant for legitimate Gambians and Gambians alone.
Good. Thank you very much, DG, for your time on the news.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, that was the Director General of the Gambia Immigration Department, Mr. Sidi Toure, on what next after the end of his countrywide tour for the second time since his appointment in November 2018. Of course, with many success stories of reformation and moral conduct. Now, the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment informed the general public that through its continuous monitoring and engagements with stakeholders on essential food commodities with a view of ensuring availability and affordability, has observed that the stock level for most of the essential food commodities being monitored are adequate for the next 3 months. The stock level for the week of 8th February compared to the week of 2nd February 2021 has increased by 123.2% for sugar and at 42,482 metric tons. 23% for flour at 1,484 metric tons, and 194.5% for onions at 123,915 bags. The stock of rice, edible oil, and potatoes are as well adequate for the next 3 months at 28,618 metric tons, 313,291 liters, and 41,240 bags respectively. Similarly, the ministry has also observed that wholesale prices of most of the essential commodities are generally stabilizing during the week under review. Notwithstanding, at the retail front, average retail prices of some of these essential food commodities are rising disappropriately, as observed in Banjul, Greater Banjul areas in the provinces based on our weekly price monitoring. In view of this, the ministry convened a consultative meeting with major retailers on Monday, 15 February 2021, to understand the causes of abnormal gaps between the wholesale and retail prices. It was reported that the major importers ratio the supply to the retailers and this contributes to the price distortion. In light of the above, the ministry will continue to engage with major importers and hereby informs the general public that such practices are not in line with the spirit of free trade and as such should be ceased. Failure to do so will result in the implementation of the needed tools to address the situation. Well, for more answers on the press release, we're now joined live in the studio by Mr. Usman Bojang, the Director of Trade. Good to have you on the program. Now tell us, how soon can consumers expect or begin to enjoy stable commodity pricing?
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewers. Thank you for having us here. We are continuing our monitoring and our engagement with the relevant stakeholders to look at the chain from the major importers to the distribution and to the retail level. And then this monitoring is on weekly basis. So on weekly basis, we have a tool called stock level monitoring reporting, where we got the data from the major importers across the market, right from Banjul to Combo and also in the provinces. The data, we look at both the stocks levels, as far as these essential commodities are concerned. We also look at the prices of wholesale and retails. From December, from the second week of December, and through this monitoring exercise, we've observed that the prices of essential commodities were hiking, were going up. And then we had a number of consultative meetings in those lines to understand the dynamics in the market. And then, and then those meetings informed that most of the reasons were both external factors and also some domestic factors. And mainly is external, mainly because of the COVID-19 has disrupted, the distributive, global distributive food chains, and then this has resulted into containers having empty containers. Container prices went up because of the scarcity and the restriction in the global market. So the hike in container prices actually affected the freight cost of Banjul. So this has affected the wholesale prices and also the retail level. This is way back, December towards first week of January, we are observing. But recently what we've observed is we observed some influx, like the stocks have increased from the week of 8th February. To date, we've seen that some significant increase in the stocks. And we've also observed that the wholesale prices are stabilizing. So once you see a stability in the wholesale prices and you've seen some good stock in terms of the stock levels, you should expect that the retail price should also go down. But we haven't seen that yet. But this will have to have a time lag, and then we will hope to see that.
Well, how soon will that be?
It depends on the market, and it depends on the behavior of some of the importers in the market. In fact, that's warranted us to engage the retailers to understand that, yes, we've seen the stability in the wholesale prices, but the retail price is still high. And the understanding is the market, the information we have from those meetings is that most of the importers, the major importers, have they kind of play in the market to make sure that they maintain that level of scarcity to ensure that the price maintain like that. So that information is something that we are very much concerned about it. And then we're going to engage the major importers also in order to break that that kind of malpractices in the market to ensure that the prices, as they are stabilized in the wholesale price, that goes down to the retail price. So hopefully, as we move on to do those engagement, we should be able to see the reflection that is happening in the wholesale prices to the retail level. Hopefully very soon.
Good.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Bojan, the 3 months stock forecast shows the availability of some key consumables like sugar. Would the current stock cover the demand as the Ramadan approaches?
Of course, yes. In fact, we have, during our monitoring exercise or weekly monitoring exercise, we have a threshold level that we know that for most of these commodities, this is how much we need for rice in the country, this is how much we need for flour, for sugar, for edible oil. So we measure the stocks against those thresholds. And the thresholds, the stocks shows to us that from now, we are in February, from now in the next 3 months, the stocks that we have in most of these essential commodities can last up to 3 months. But in addition to that, we also take stock of the expected stocks, like the import plans. So we don't just look at what you have, but what do you plan to have. So it goes that the stocks that we have can last towards in the next 3 months, even beyond Ramadan. So we are very much comfortable in terms of the stocks that we have. The struggle is how do we ensure that the stability that we have observed in the wholesale price trickle down to the retail level towards the Ramadan. So that is what that is our focus now.
Well, Mr. Bojan, you mentioned that, you had a meeting with some of these importers. Now, tell us, who has the final say? Can the ministry essentially set a price ceiling of some of the goods?
The ministry is operating on the policy of free market. Yeah, we don't have a price control regime. We want to believe that was abolished since in the mid-80s. But nonetheless, circumstances can arise, and then we can able to use some powers to be able to control certain prices. We can give an example.
Yeah.
In March, when we had the COVID-19 case, and there was this panic buying in the market, and people were rushing to buy to say that because of the COVID, there'll be shortage of these essential commodities. Yeah. And business people, when they see that the demand has surged, and they just increase the prices, deliberately. So the prices were going up, steadily going up. So there was no control. We had to during that time the market has failed. So we had to use other means, because the price should be determined by a normal demand and supply interaction in the market. Okay. But what we saw is a surge in the demand and panic buying. People were even buying to keep like stockpiling, to be sure that yes, I have enough stuff in the food in my house. So we decided to come up with a regulation, under the state of public emergency that was declared. So once the state of public emergency declares, we come up with a regulation, and the regulation control the distribution, the export of these essential commodities, and also we had a price ceiling. So we were able to control prices during that time. But we use that because that's the most extreme scenario where you can come up with in a free market policy without a price control regime, where you can come with a regulation and to say that the prices are fixed at this. So we are yet to be at that stage where we can say, okay, let's use certain powers to control prices to make sure that the prices are within. So we are allowing the market. We are just trying to do our engagement, understand what are the malpractices in market, try to address that, and allow the market to adjust itself. Okay. Yes, and that's what we are seeing. In fact, we did not control prices since December when we saw this. But we are seeing that the market is adjusting gradually. We are seeing that the stocks are increasing. And once the stocks start increasing and the wholesale price starts stabilizing, obviously, in the long run, medium to short run, there will be stability in the retail prices.
Well,
but
thank you so much.
We have to buy the time, before we get there.
Definitely, yes. Well, thank you so much for your time on the news.
Thank you very much.
Well, that was Mr. Usman Bojang, the Director of Trade, giving us a live update on current market outlook. Well, time now to take our first commercial break. The sports news is up next. Do stay.
Council of Elders, the Gambia NPP, is organizing an Executive Cultural Week and Gala Night on the 19th of February 2021 in recognition of the Gambia's independence. The event is happening live at Jama Hall, Kairaba Beach Hotel. Chief Guest of Honor, First Lady Fatoumata Baro, Chief Patron, Dr. Aissatou Toure, Vice President of the Gambia. The list of tables are as follows: Platinum table, $65,000, Diamond, $55,000, Gold table, $45,000, individual tickets, $2,500, international guests, His Royal Highest Amir Jejere Al-Hassan Al-Haji Hamza Buba Ibn Masio of Nigeria, His Royal Highest Prince Mustafa Mohammed Barkindo Aliyu Mustafa, performing guest artists, Gambia's very own cultural ambassador, Jaliba Kuyathe and the Kumare Band, and the lineup of different musicians. Be there.
Thursday the 18th, a special audition.
Attacked by Big Far and who else?
The Gambia Independence Day. Prepare yourself for unforgettable moments, exceptional talents, and judges like no other. 6 p.m. on GRTS TV, AfriCell Facebook page, Afri Radio, and all our social media partners. Be a Star Show in collaboration with GRTS, Sahel Entertainment, Paradise Hotel, Beko, and Big Event Production. AfriCell, be a star, your road to success.
Welcome back, and now a bit of sports for you. The head coach of the Gambia Under-20 team, Mata Mboj, has said that his young Scorpions will draw positive lessons from their 1-0 defeat against Morocco in the ongoing AFCON Under-20 tournament and prepare better for their next game. Mata Mboj was speaking in an interview with GRTS Sports at the team's training ground in Mauritania, in the Mauritanian city of Nouadhibou on Wednesday morning, as his side prepares to face Tanzania in the second game. MS Jallo is with the team and files in this report.
This is the Gambia's third appearance at the Under-20 African Cup of Nations, ending the country's decade-long absence from the Continental Youth Football Tournament. The Young Scorpions faced the Young Atlas Lions of Morocco in their opening group game at the Stade Municipal de Nouadhibou. The tense encounter was decided by a controversial first-half penalty awarded to the Moroccans by the Sudanese referee. And after missing the first attempt, Mehdi El Mubarak was ordered to retake the spot kick, and he made no mistake on the second chance. The game produced few clear-cut chances, with the Gambia having two of their penalty appeals falling on deaf ears. The Moroccans held on to win 1-0.
I think we took a lot of positives from the first game in terms of the team we were playing. We know Morocco are a huge country in terms of football pedigree in Africa, and to come up against them and to hear the coach being so complimentary of the team, and for him to tell me that they had to prepare extra for this game because they were worried about our team, and for him to call us one of the best teams in the group was a compliment. And I think we showed in most parts of the game our quality. But as you said, we know that there are things that we could have done much better. And I think in terms of errors, there's one man on the pitch and his colleague who we all know who the person is. They made the biggest errors on the day, and that was the difference in the end.
Coach Matamboj and his charges are now focused on the next game. The team hit the training ground immediately with this light session on Wednesday morning, as he looks ahead to a crunch meeting with Tanzania.
This is a tournament, so you don't have time to just think too much about the first game. So there's another game to come, Tanzania, and we're just trying to prepare the boys as much as we can in terms of getting the best 11 out there that's available. We're looking at the work that some of the boys did yesterday in terms of fitness, and in terms of some boys had 90 minutes. Let's see how much they have in their legs. So in today's session and also tomorrow, we'll have enough chance to let them rest up. But then also we want to give opportunity to some of the players that maybe did not feature, because I want to give all the players, as many players as possible, that chance to show Africa and show the world what they are about. And anyone who comes here, you'll know that there's a quality team here. There's, the 28 players we have available here now, they are all quality players. So
well, a must-win game now lies ahead of the Young Scorpions of the Gambia against the Young Tiger Stars of Tanzania on Friday, who equally needs to win that game. But Coach Matamboj's charges can draw inspiration from a similar scenario in the qualifiers, when they lost the opening game to Senegal in the WAFU tournament, and coming back stronger to go all the way to win the tournament and qualify for this championship. So Friday will certainly be a crunch meeting between the two sides. Mohamed Jallo, GRTS Sports, in the Stade Municipal de Nouadhibou in Mauritania.
Well, that's the news, but before we take leave of you, a recap of the day's top stories. The government will suspend all forms of social gatherings amid new wave of the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. The Gambia has marked 56 years of nationhood on Thursday, the 18th February, and celebrations to be done in low-key. The government of the Gambia and the International Organization for Migration are discussing plans to promote the safety of migrants. In sports, the Gambia Under-20 team has suffered first 1-0 defeat in the ongoing AFCON Under-20 tournament in Mauritania. And in the internationals, health authorities have confirmed 4 cases of Ebola in eastern Congo. Well, viewers, that was all in this edition of the News at 8. Join us at 10 for more news. Until then, do stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs.